If you with it, drop it.
Okay, so let me introduce you to this amazing young professional woman. Her name is LaKisha Mosley. And she is amazing. So let me tell y'all how we met. Like, I love to give context on how we met. So, first of all, and just know that the women that I'm putting in front of you are not like, this is not just a, hey, let me just push somebody that got a good following or because they popular. I'm putting people in front of you because they live a life of supporting other women and they actually have not just supporting me, but they like show up in their lives in that way very authentically. So I just want to thank you, first of all, for always being a yes for me. Tell me how you made that shift. Because again, when I first met you, you was out here executing large scale virtual events with the best of them. And now you have a mental health platform. You work
Yes.
with women in business. So let's talk about the platform and talk about how you support women in business when it comes to mental health or women leaders when it comes to mental health.
Yes. Well, you know I love you, and so it was just God sent for us to even just be connected. Funny story is mental health was never really what I felt like was my purpose. It was something I was interested in. Um, I was telling the story the other day that this actually started back in 2020 when we had all the racial unjust with George Floyd, and I decided to produce this small series called Racism in Black America. And the last panel was mental health. And I had probably about 4 or 5 mental health therapists and clinicians on, and we were talking. The panel went over, Nicole. It went over like the 60 minutes. And people were in my DMs like, hey, this is a great conversation. We need to continue this. What can you do? And so I'm like, what can I do? And then something was like, okay, girl, you plan events. Why don't you just plan an event around this? And so that's how my mind is my business came about. It was first debuted October in 2020. And then I just kept it going from there. In 2022, your girl had her own breakdown. I started to notice this was around my 46th birthday, and I was like, I just don't feel right. Like, I feel like if something happened to me, I would be okay. I didn't want to, it was passive suicide ideation, I guess you would say. I wasn't looking to do anything to myself, but I didn't care if anything happened to me. And so I went to the doctor, and I think that's when the mask fell off. You kind of answer those mental health questions
Mhm.
truthfully. And she looked at me and said, "You are severely depressed, and I need you to go to a therapist today. Like, not tomorrow, today. Like, I need you to call somebody today." And so we set up this appointment, and I was at first diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder, which is like a severe case of depression. Like, you're just depressed and you don't even know why you're depressed. Like, I'm not laughing to make a joke, but it's just like it's that's how real it was for me. But
Mhm.
then later on, I was re-diagnosed, or my diagnosis was updated to high functioning because of now how I'm depressed. I could be depressed, and like right here, y'all wouldn't even know that I'm depressed because high functioning, we just work through what it is. And so I discovered during that time that I was out, there was no supportive spaces,
Mm.
especially for Black women. There were no spaces for us to say, as an entrepreneur, I don't feel right. I don't feel supported. I don't have a tribe. What can I do? And so I was like, shoot, I'm finna create my own. And it was just a spinoff from My Mind is My Business called Mind Your Business, because I feel like, and it's been proven that if you don't have a healthy mental health, your business is not going to be successful. You can't do anything. Your brain controls your entire body. So
Mhm.
think about your mind. How does it control your processes? Your how you manage your clients, how you do anything in your business. And so I wanted to create this supportive space where women, especially Black women, could come and have the support that they need, have the resources they need, network with other women in business, be connected in someone.
So when we start talking about the art of showing up, specifically in the area of transition, and even more specifically when it comes to mental health, what are some top tips that you can tell someone that is going through a transition? And I know that it gets really specific depending on what you are, but how
Right.
to protect your mental health. We need like some actionable tips.
I think first and foremost, you have to recognize that you are in a transition. You need to own that piece. There is trauma and grief around transition that we don't even talk about, especially as Black women or as Black people. But we're going to talk to the women today.
Okay.
There is trauma
It is.
and grief around any type of transition, be it good or bad. You grieve the life you once had. As a mother, I grieve my life before parenthood. I ain't the same girl. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Like there's
Yeah.
a transition in that. And with it comes a different mindset that you have to have. So first and foremost, you have to know that you're going through a transition. You also have to make sure that you take inventory of what is actually happening. Okay, I'm in this transition, but how is this transition going to make adjustments for me? So, okay, if I'm moving, I know I got to pack, I got to change my address, I got to do like what are the steps for this transition? What does it take? I'm a note girl, so I have these big, huge sticky notepads all over my house, all over my office at work. And I write down those things like if I'm moving, if I'm having a transition from one location to another location, what does that entail? In that, here comes the grief because I
Mm,
got to say goodbye. I got to say goodbye to the house that I love, that I probably handpicked, that I really,
come on.
in love with. I've decorated to the T. I got to say goodbye to the friends that I've made here. I got to say goodbye to that job that I've had. I have to say goodbye to the lifestyle that I have in this before this before thing. I have to say goodbye to that. So also list out all those things. And then what things can you do to mitigate any type of risk? So for me, as someone who is high functioning, things that lead me into crises are sudden change.
Mhm.
And it's not all the time sudden change. I'm pretty good. My color code is red. I get from point A to point B very quickly. It's when you add all the extra stuff in between that your girl could go into crises. So, how do you mitigate your risk to protect your mental health? So, if I know that if I pack with my mother, it's triggering or it's gonna give me some anxiety, then I no, mom, I'd prefer to pack by myself.
Mm,
Or you limit the time that you pack with mama because you know packing with her could be a thing. If I know that um handling certain aspects of say a move or anxious for me, do I have a trusted friend that I can hand this off to? Or
mm.
is there someone that I have that can support me in these things? See, we don't know how to ask for help. We don't know how to tell people I ain't good at doing X, Y, and Z. That doesn't mean that I'm less than as a person. That just means in this moment I need to be supported.
To be
And
support.
that's the last thing I'll say is find ways for people to support you. And note I said find. I didn't say, think about find ways for people to support you.
Let's talk about what is high functioning depression and how can we really even how can we discover if somebody that we care about is going through that if they're not willing to really open up about it. You know what I mean?
Right. I will say first and foremost, a lot of people don't understand what it is, even when you're going through it, because when I was first diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder and I started reading up on it, I was like, this ain't me.
Mm,
Because no, persistent, you can't function. You're not functioning.
mm,
You're on the lowest or the most extreme level of depression to the point where a lot of times they can't work, they can't do this. So I was like, this ain't me. So high functioning,
mm,
um, is where you struggle with depression. Like you feel like there's something wrong, but you still can keep going. It's almost as if we have masks or we have facades that happen. It's a lot of times people feel like it's manipulative, but it's really not. We have to just keep going.
It's
I
survival.
was
It's a
it's
survival tactic.
That's the word. That's
It's a
exactly what
survival
it
tactic.
was. And I will tell you what I did notice, or in some of my latest research, is that some people with high functioning cis also have persistent depressive disorder. That is where we go into the crises piece, is where, when you go into crises, it's like you're in this bubble and you don't know how to come out. It's almost as if when people see the commercials for Rexulti, like one of the depression diseases, I mean, Lord, diseases, medications, and you see the person with the sign that's up, they're in the room, but they're not in the room. That's a crisis. I could literally be sitting next to you and you think that I am in tune with you, and I'm really not in tune with you. I don't even know you're there. I am so into myself. I am so into my shell that I
Mhm.
have no idea like what's happening with me. And so I think we feel like because people are still performing at a high rate, because again, when you think about high functioning, what drives us is work.
Mhm.
Take work away from me, honey. I'm going into crises. Let me not have nothing to do. I am going into crises. Work is what helps us like kind of deal with the depression that we have. You'll see it high functioning people rarely take days off. Like we literally have to be like damn near dead
Mm,
to take
mm,
time off. That's if you're not careful and you're not watching the signs, of like high functioning. For us, we um either don't sleep enough or we sleep too much. um 1 minute we're really confident and we have it all together, and then the next we're like really imposter syndrome really sets in really really bad. So it's almost like a imbalance of the scale, if
mm,
that's a good way to describe it, because we do very well in some situations, but then sometimes in other situations we don't do as well. And I think some people don't catch it because you won't know we don't do as well, but we know it
mhm.
because we can tell. We can tell when we haven't just lived up to quote unquote these very high expectations that we have for ourselves.
I just want to talk about it more because I feel like in the faith community as well as in the African
Oh God,
community,
yes.
and it's so much. I mean, it's stigmas around it anyway, because every
Right,
human being is on some I need to survive, right?
right,
They're trying to strategize to survive, right? So everybody has on masks. Everybody is trying to put their best foot forward and look good and not look weak or whatever. But then on top of that, you have those cultural boundaries as well as those faith community boundaries, I would say
right.
sometimes.
Right. Oh,
So,
I've been attacked by them. As a PK, as
oh
someone
God,
who
I did not know you
said,
were a PK.
yes, my father was a preacher.
Got it.
And a very progressive preacher, I might say. I think I was sharing this on another interview recently. I think that had he still been alive, he would have understood. He would have probably helped me. And I think when I go scripture on people, I think it's from him. I think it's a download from him when it comes to that. But I look at ancestrally, because we gotta go back to the origination of the black church and how during slavery, ways that they congregated. And so you have to sometimes say to people where well the slaves only depended on God. Yes, because during that time that's all that they knew of. That's not to say any of them didn't struggle with any type of mental challenge. If we want to go biblical, let's talk David. If we want to even go more biblical, let's talk about the prophet Elijah, who said that he wanted to die by suicide. And he was a prophet from God. See, they don't be ready for those conversations. But I've had people attack me and say, well, you're calling this thing into existence. No, I am not. This is a medical diagnosis. You will not debo me into thinking that it's any other way. You will not manipulate me with your religion to say that this isn't something that's real. because I have said it and I will say it again that faith is not a suitable substitution for mental health care. It's just not.
Wait, wait,
It's
wait, wait,
important too.
wait, wait, wait. Say it again so that the people can hear you in the back.
Faith is not a suitable substitution for mental health care.
How
Like
can
I'm
we find it, girl? Tell us about where can we find the platform and join? Tell us a little bit. Like, I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of this. Then how do they
yeah.
find you?
Yes. So on Instagram, we are Mind Your Business Collective, and the website is mindyourbusiness.space. And once you go on there, you'll read a little bit about it. It's a free community to join. Anyone can join, any women can join. We prefer women in there. Men, I ain't creating nothing for y'all yet, not just yet. But I feel like for women, we can relate to each other in this group. It's built in an app called Geneva. There's different rooms. There's an open conversation room where you can go in and share what you may be struggling with. There's a fitness room where I run challenges every month on different things based off of the theme. I share business resources and things in there because not only do I want you to be mentally well, but I want your business to succeed. And they go hand in hand. We neglect our mental health. So this group is really for women entrepreneurs who want to prioritize their mental health so that they can have the business success that they say that they want. And that can only happen if you are mentally sound and or at least working toward, good mental health.
You so much for taking the time. We are way over time, but I just decided in this interview that I'm not going to stick to that little 20, 30 minutes. Like whatever is going to happen is going to happen and people just going to have to hear it if they want to
Right.
hear it. And so thank you for going all the way over time with me and sharing your journey and your resources. And I just, I love you, girl.
Yeah,
So
I love you
yeah.
back, girl. This was great. I had fun. I
Well,
enjoyed it.
great. Well, all we want people to be able to show up, and
Right.
specifically if they're struggling with, let's get honest, let's get vulnerable about these
Yeah.
mental health things. Again, we're going into a season where this is not just about. I just think so many people are dealing with loneliness and isolation and mental
They
health
are.
challenges. Even those that don't have diagnosis can benefit from these type of resources or therapy or community or the things that we're talking about. So this is an important topic. Thank you for sharing your heart on it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.